call to order the meeting of May 11th, 2020, and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the
and to the republic
for which
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
And
and justice for all.
for all.
And pause for a moment of silence. Please be seated. Let's see. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being videotaped for cable. So this is our reorganization meeting. I'd like to take a motion on the next chairperson of the West Bridgewater School Committee. Do I have a motion or a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Sue Sullivan as the next chairperson of the School Committee of West Bridgewater.
Are there any other nominations, or is there a second?
Second.
Second by Donna. Any discussion? All in favor of Sue Sullivan as the chairperson of the West Bridgewater School Committee?
Aye.
Again.
Is that everyone? Okay. So now I'm going to give you the virtual gavel.
All right. I have it.
Okay. And now you control the rest of the meeting, Sue. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am very humbled to have this position, so thank you, and I will hopefully do what I can to have everyone's voice heard, and I appreciate your confidence, so thank you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so we will now start with the further reorganization of the school committee. So I would like to make a motion for the vice chairperson, or do I need to have a motion for that? Actually, I think someone needs to make the motion for that, please.
Somebody needs to make it.
Yep.
I will make the motion for Donna Hume as the vice chairperson.
Second.
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 Excellent. Welcome aboard, Donna.
Well, thank you. I look forward to continuing with it.
Thank you. And now would I would like to have a motion for the clerk.
I'll make the motion to ask that Mrs. Smith be the clerk.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Molly. Welcome aboard. Thank you. For the subcommittee appointments, so we have 6 subcommittee appointments. The first is the capital budget, and I believe that Mr. Holden currently holds that position. And I would ask, as Mr. Holden is retiring, if Mr. Flynn would be interested in replacing Mr. Holden.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And for personnel and negotiations, the current subcommittee members are Mr. Flynn and myself. I would be interested in staying on that subcommittee. Mr. Flynn, would you?
Yes.
Excellent. And then the Safe Schools representative, currently that is Mrs. Smith and myself. And I would like to stay on that subcommittee as well. Mrs. Smith, are you interested?
Yes.
Excellent. And next is the donations and dedications. And I believe, Mrs. Hume, that is your subcommittee. Are you interested in continuing on that?
Yes.
Excellent. And then the warrant or budget subcommittee, I've been holding that position. Although it's very difficult, I would like to still hold on to that and continue to read those warrants off, if that's acceptable.
Yes.
Excellent. And then the last position is the subcommittee is the sick bank representative. So typically, because the elections are delayed, typically the newest member would take that position. And unless someone else is interested in it, I'd like to hold that open for when the elections are done.
That was actually, I think Bill had that. It wasn't
That's right.
Bill.
Mr.
Oh, you
Poon
did?
has that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you would like to move that to the new person, I'm fine with that. That's our call.
That's up to you, Bill. I'm sorry. I didn't know that that was you. I thought it was typically on the new one on. So it's your call.
We can leave that. Actually, I don't want to overstep my bounds. I ask Mr. Holden to fill in for that in case something comes up in the next couple of weeks, which I don't see anything coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Great idea. Mr. Holden, would you be interested in keeping that spot warm for a few more weeks?
Yeah, I'll keep the seat warm.
Excellent. Thank you.
Literally.
All right. And the next is the annual appointment of Mr. Bodwell to the project Contemporary Competitiveness. I'd like to make a motion for the appointment of Mr. Mark Bodwell to serve as a member on the board of the project Contemporary Competitiveness, Inc. for the 2021 fiscal school year.
Move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right, thank you, Mr. Bodwell.
Thank you.
And now for the annual appointment to the North River Collaborative. Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at North River Collaborative are to be appointed annually. Mr. Mark Bodwell is appointed to serve as the West Bridgewater Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors of the North River Collaborative in accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2021 fiscal school year. And I believe that's also, could I have a motion for that?
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you again, Mr. Bodwell.
You're welcome.
And the annual vote for the appointment to the Reeds Collaborative. Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors of the Reeds Collaborative are to be appointed annually. Mr. Mark Bodwell is appointed to serve as the West Bridgewater Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors of the Reeds Collaborative in accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2021 fiscal school year. May I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Again, congratulations, Mr. Bodwell. Thank you. And I'd like to have a motion now to approve the minutes from the April 13th, 2020 school committee meeting.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. And now Dr. Oakley, superintendent's update.
Yeah, I was wondering though, didn't you want to, weren't you going to add another subcommittee?
I was actually, thank you. Yes, that probably would make a little bit more sense. So I've been reading various emails and just all these resources dealing with obviously the pandemic and the effects on not only public schools, but also colleges, private, public, whatever. And I would like to talk about possibly establishing another subcommittee in our district. And I would like to have it focused on, well, first, I think the name speaks for itself. I would like to have it identified as the Academic Continuity Subcommittee. And that would deal with obviously policy and mostly budget for those particular issues that we have facing us that we don't even know yet. In particular, the grab and go program. So dealing with the whole budget perspective for the food services for the staff. And then the supplies that we're going to need, cleaning supplies, nursing supplies, any other kind of supplies or inventory that we're going to need in our district that is going to that will hopefully be able to accommodate what it's going to look like in the fall. So I would love to have some discussion on this. I think it's something that if we had some representatives, I think it would assist the superintendent, Mr. Bodwell, as well as the school principals and the other administrative staff for issues that may come up, whether it be in the student services department. And this way it would be a much more direct conversation dealing with policy and budget with the school committee and the subject person.
Mrs. Sullivan, how many people are you looking to have on that?
I would look for 2. I would like to be on it.
2 along with Mark?
Yes.
And I suggest Kathy Grant.
Well, I think
she'll be on.
I think the subcommittee is, and then would be involved in the larger committee that Mark probably puts together to help with the transition.
And that would have, obviously, Jim, constant communication with Kathy, because we're going to be dealing with, obviously, budget issues. I anticipate budget issues.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have budget issues. I think you're on the larger scale. Most of it is going to be manpower. Did you get that, Jim?
Yes. Do you want to kind of expand on that, Jim, for me?
Well,
when you say about manpower,
if based on what may or may not happen in the fall, with how much cleaning is going to be necessary, your chemical cost is going to be minor, and I can use this from experience, just what I've been going through on the properties I have. What your bigger cost is going to be manpower, and how much of a turnaround you may or may not have to do in the course of a day.
Right.
Right. That's one of the pieces.
What is that department doing now during this break?
Cleaning.
Dr. Oakley, are they doing any type of sterilization throughout lockers and hallways and bathrooms at this particular point?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, right now their project, which they're doing at each school, is they're actually cleaning out all the lockers, because don't forget, the kids left on a Friday and there's a lot of stuff left in there. So they're cleaning out all the lockers, putting the contents in bags and labeling it, so that once we get the go ahead from the governor that we can have more people around, we're going to do, the principals are going to set up a curbside grab and go for the kid lockers, and also for the little ones, the belongings from their desks. So the custodians now, they finished the Howard lockers last week, and they're moving on to the next buildings now, so that they'll be set up that people can come and get that. Then they'll sterilize, and disinfect all those areas, but they disinfect that people are coming into for the Spring Street School. They've also painted the Howard Gym, painted the Rose McDonald. So they're doing a lot of what they would normally, right now, what they would normally do in the summer as summer projects. And we want that to happen, because in the summer, they're going to have to be maybe putting up plexiglass, maybe bringing in, changing the desks, changing setups of offices and all that stuff. So they're not going to be able to do their traditional summer work. So if they can get all that summer work out of the way now, then you can use them for helping to set up what school will look like in the fall.
There's only a couple of chemicals that are designated, as I'll say, for actual COVID-19 disinfecting. And one of them is a spray and wipe. And the other one is a spray and let it dry and then wipe. So I think that I don't know what is going on at this particular time. It's not fair. It's not fair of me to say that they are not using one of those particular chemicals, but I think
you're right. They are.
I think that we should make sure that whatever they are doing, that they're using that, along with the fact that within the gymnasiums, all the padding along the walls is going to also need to get done. If they do the seats, the bleachers rather, and then keep them closed, they'll be fine. But making sure the padding gets done, I think that will be important, along with all floor areas.
Yeah, they're doing everything. And Julie's actually, even before we, right when we got out, Julie already had the stuff that was okay for COVID, you know, that worked against COVID. So she's very aware of that. She's also involved with the whole organization of the facilities organizations around the state. So she's getting the guidance every day from them and following that to a T.
And so, Jim, you're right, though, about the manpower perspective, because this isn't going to be a, you know, once a weekend cleaning. It's most likely going to be a daily event. So you're right. So the manpower, the materials, all of that. I just think that it would be just more streamlined if we had a subcommittee, so that whether it be Julie, whether it be you know, Kathy Grant or Mr. Bodwell or someone who needs to get a quick answer.
We're going to also have a lot of other issues related to budget in terms of transportation, increase in technology, both sending information out and maybe more devices for students. So there's going to be a lot of things with scheduling. Will be another major factor in terms of what a schedule looks like coming back, and planning for all different types of scenarios.
Yeah. So I would love to be able to be on this subcommittee. If there's two other members of the school committee that would really want to jump in on that, I would be happy to let you guys do that. But I just felt that it was something that we should establish tonight. So thank you, Dr. Oakley, for reminding me about that.
Sue, I agree with the idea of establishing the committee this evening. I think that you would like to possibly wait on finding out who our new representative will be upon election day, and maybe find a way for them to get involved so that they are feel like they're more of a belonging member to the group. I don't, you know, I don't think it would be absolutely necessary to form the committee this evening. And I also don't want, on that same comment, I don't want you to overwhelm yourself with a lot of what else is going to be going on and what you may or may not have to do as the chairperson. You need to consider that. So I would suggest that you form the committee, and then upon your next meeting, as early as you may have to have a meeting in July, not knowing what's going on. At that meeting, you decide on whom would be the people that would be serving on that committee from the school committee.
The only thing I'm going to add to that is, and I know I'm probably speaking out of turn because I won't be here, but we talked with the principals today, and I think July is too late for a committee like this to start, because July and August are going to go by like that. And honestly, I think that the plans for what September is going to look like needs to start yesterday. So I mean, it's fine because Mark will probably put together a committee of people, a task force to start working on this, and the school committee can then jump on. I just think that it's, you know, the sooner the better that this gets started, because it should have already been started. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be done because there's a lot that into it. And committee that he wants, subcommittee facilities versus health and safety or something like that. But that's my only thought. So maybe if there's two other people that want to do it, if Sue can't, then that's fine. But I think it doesn't mean that you can't always switch it out. I just think you definitely need to get started on it now. And then maybe switch it out later if someone just wants to do it and then give it to someone else. But the other thing is the person's going to be brand new and have to get used to the whole school system. Maybe
that's what I was going to say, Dr. Oakley.
That new person is on something that is going to happen right away, like or like capital, like, you know what I mean? To be on something that they have to jump in day one, and that's a pretty big, know a lot of the ins and outs of the school. You know, maybe flip out a different. That's a big responsibility for June 27th. My thought.
It's going to be very fluid. It'll be ongoing from day one. We're going to be meeting and discussing and sharing, and also taking in information for what other districts are doing to make the best plan for West Bridgewater.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as the newest member of the school committee, I think it would have been a little overwhelming for me anyway to be on a committee like that right from the get-go, from day one. And Sue, I would be happy to work on that with you, but certainly if anyone else had any interest, that's fine too.
That would be fantastic. I would welcome that. But I agree that, Jim, I understand your concern. And I do agree with Dr. Oakley that, you know, these are conversations that, you know, the higher education are having right now. Like, these are the emails that I'm getting from colleges and so forth, just, you know, personally. And these are all the conversations that they're already having. They've already have their task force investigating and trying to figure out all their trajectories and so forth. So I would think that I would like to start it sooner rather than later as well. And if we have the new person kind of, you know, jump on and learn, that would be fantastic, because, you know, no time like the present.
I'm good with Sue and Donna moving forward, if that works for everybody. I know Jim's not going to be here. Molly, are you good with it?
Yeah, I think that's great. I do think, because we don't know, there's so many unknowns right now, that it's going to be really important to keep everyone in the loop. So I agree with the subcommittee so that we can move forward and get things done quickly. But I mean, the bottom line is we haven't done this before. It's going to be a very different budget year. We're going to have expenses that we've never had before, and we're going to have a lack of money that we've never had before either. So with those two things, I think we need to all work together. It's not going to be, so even if we form a subcommittee, I think that's a great idea, but know that we'll all work together to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay. How do you guys feel about with respect to the name?
Love it.
It was Academic Continuity Subcommittee, right? What you proposed?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. Transition to greatness? No, sorry, just joking. Sorry, I had to. All right, that's fantastic. So do I need to make a motion for that, or is that something that?
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion, vote it in.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to establish the Academic Continuity Subcommittee. And the members to start out would be Donna and I, which is always fluid. That can always change as it goes forward.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Oakley. So we'll go back to the superintendent's update.
Okay. First on the list is just kind of a remote learning update. You know that the state came out with a phase 3 since the last time that we met. And we're already doing so much, I think, in West Bridgewater that phase 3 now is just looking at, they put out essential standards for that the students are being taught the most essential things and maybe focusing the end of the year on these most essential things so that go to the next grade or the next course in the sequence of things, the teachers that receive the kids can be ensured that, okay, at least we know that these essential things were taught. Already talking about that before the commissioner came. So we were already, and they've had, all the schools have had conversations about this and already kind of finalized it and put it into place. And the middle senior high school are working with the coordinators in each department to look at those standards, those essential standards now for the next 5 or 6 weeks that we have together. So again, I think we've been ahead of the curve. I think we have high expectations for our learning, and it's not really that much different, the phase 3. Right now, you know, one of the things that's hard with the weather getting nicer is to keep engagement, because it's all different and it's hard to keep engagement, and we're not the only ones that will struggle with that. Every school system struggles with that because it's different, and we're not there. The kids aren't right in front of us, and we're not there with the people on there. And they've got parents at home that might be doing, maybe their parents are essential workers and they're not home. So it's not always easy. What the principals about this morning is that, especially first grade, third grade, they're trying to mix it up and do something different. Keep engagement, do different maybe getting more than one class together in video chat so they can see and so that they come back to the screen and will be engaged some more. There's still a good job with the video chats at the Howard School, but they see a decline in some of the engagement. So those teachers are going to work on different ways to keep the engagement. Senior high school, they've been monitoring, and they instituted an attendance call. So if a kid misses a Google Meets, that the parent can be at least notified of that. And then there's also still a list that they keep that if a student really is slacking off and not showing up a number of times, or they don't know where the child is, they have from the child, that lists get split up between Mr. Bodwell and Mrs. Page, and they actually give a personal phone call. So, you know, the hanging there, I don't know, it's a tough time, and we just have to try to make it through the next few weeks. But I know, I don't think, I know teachers are doing a bang up job of this. And again, unless you've been involved in it, people don't understand that we closed school on a Friday, and then the following Tuesday said, okay, now we're going to be remote. And maybe we only thought it was 2 or 3 weeks, but now we're remote. It changes and grows over time, but that's not an easy task to completely transform the way you educate students in a weekend. So it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a colossal undertaking, and it's a huge pedagogical change. So the teachers are learning a lot, the kids are learning a lot, and I think it is working out. But are there bumps along the way? Yeah, absolutely. Are there some people that probably think we're doing too much, and there's some people that think we're not doing enough, and it's hard to get kids to do it. It's like the snow day calls. You're never going to make everyone happy. But I believe that our teachers are doing the best that they can, and their best is very good. And I believe the students and parents just should do the best that they can, and we'll all come through this. And it's going to look different in September. So any questions about remote learning or anything that you've heard from the school committee or anything? All right. Not really that much new from what I said last time. I did all the town administrator texted him last week to see if there was an update that I could give you. And the thing that he did tell me was that the selectmen, not at their last meeting, but the one before that, voted or talked about, I don't know if it was an actual vote, but I think he said vote, that they don't believe how tight that this FY20 budget is going to be, that there are going to be any new hires. They don't want any new hires, new positions put into the town. They are also urging or asking all employees to take a 0 for FY20. They talked to us about that, and I told them that we're in a kind of a different situation than the town employees, because the town employees' contracts are up June 30th, so they're actually in negotiations right now. Whereas with the teachers, we were in negotiations a year ago, and we're already in our first year of an extended contract. So in order for that to happen with teachers, the teachers would have to first agree to come to the table for that, and then negotiate that. And my conversation with them was that it's hard to present that to our teachers and even our non-union employees when we haven't gotten any indication from the town what our budget is yet. I still don't have a number. So it's hard to go to people and say, hey, listen, I need you to take a 0. Hey, well, why? What's your budget? And I don't know yet. So it's, I did put something out to the leadership of the union, the president, and I just told them the town was asking, and just be willing to entertain it, and, assume that they're talking. But I think they're a little, I think we're a little ahead of ourselves until we know exactly what the financial is. So from that conversation with the town administrator, our negotiation subcommittee, Mr. Flynn and Mrs. Sullivan and myself, Mr. Bodwell, Mrs. Grant, all select women Rays, and David Gagney, town administrator, had a conversation just so they could explain where they were coming from about why they would like the employees to take control, and to reiterate a point about no new hires and all that stuff. More about the fact that, again, are they going to use some of the $3 million they have in stabilization to help balance the budgets in this tight time? And when will they really have an idea of the budget, since the House in Massachusetts is saying that the governor's budget is out and they may not have their budget until July. There's so many things up in the air. It's hard to put a finger on it or to get an actual number. We also talked about with the economic downturn right now is so of the revenue for FY21. But if this continues until there's a vaccination way into, there could be 3 quarters in the next year of an economic downturn, which could really cause a problem in FY22. So would FY22 be a better year to have to go and ask employees for a 0 than FY21 when we know there is stabilization money? That all comes down to what the selectmen had to do with balancing the budget. But those are the conversations we had. And again, I apologize because it's not an update. It's kind of just a moving target and giving you information. But that's so I know that the selectmen met last Wednesday. I haven't heard anything. They talked about that. And also, I'm probably meeting this week, hopefully talking about it and narrowing it down. At least giving an idea, because the town meeting is right now scheduled for June 29th, and that's when we usually approve budgets. So, I'm sorry I don't have a more specific update, but that's what we have. And I think it's because everything on every level is a moving target. I don't know if Mr. Flynn or Ms. Sullivan, you were on that Zoom meeting with us, so I don't know if you have anything down, or Mr. Bodwell or Mrs. Grant, whatever.
I just would like to add that I just think that your perspective is, I just think your perspective is 100% on target. I really do. I don't think it's going to be this year. I think it is going to be next year when we're really going to feel it. And I agree that I appreciated the open discussion that we had with Ms. Reyes and with Mr. Gagney. And we did talk about the stabilization account. I understand, and the free cash and all of that. And everybody seemed to kind of be a team player. And that's what we need to do as a district to get through this. It's everybody that is, our town is suffering as a whole. So it's not just the school, the school budget, it's everyone's budget. So I think if everybody throws a hand in, then it's going to come back, and people are just going to feel like that's the best way that they could handle it, is if everybody was in on it. And I appreciate that perspective, Dr. Oakley. I think you're right on.
I agreed with Sue here, and especially with Dr. Oakley, kind of opening everybody's eyes to look forward past actually this year, to look what could possibly be worse in the future, and for everybody to be wary of the future and not just try to make Band-Aid approaches right now. So I think we opened some eyes that way, and hopefully look at it that way as well with the future ahead of us.
I think it was also helpful for them to hear what our, although we're working remotely, we still have costs that are going to be incurred, and we're going to have more costs next year. So I think it's important for them to hear what our funding looks like moving forward, so they're not making assumptions. They're hearing from schools that we do have needs, and we're going to have more needs moving into the future.
Okay. And then the school lunch program. I got the information from Anne Marie Grinder, and we know maybe been out there or seen it or talked to anyone. I mean, it is flourishing, sadly, because that means that things aren't great in the community financially for it to be flourishing. But I'll tell you, hats off to those cafeteria workers and what they're doing, and they really are working there. So last week alone, 2,700 meals, that's lunches and breakfasts together. And she said to about 385 children meals. Okay. And that's for last week. And she said that's been about on target for the last several weeks. So we are getting some federal reimbursement for that. Doesn't cover all our costs, but we have reimbursement and should be coming in. But we also have a lot of donations. People are really generous in our community, and from private donations, just from a check here and there that people in the community are sending to the food service. Received $13,000 in private donations. She also received a $4,200 grant from the EOS Foundation, which is a Children's Meals Grants Foundation. They help to leverage the money and the funding from the USDA and get grants to local communities. And also she got a $2,000 grant from Project Bread. So, at least there's some things coming in to help offset the cost, because usually he's making profit because kids are buying lunches and they're not. So they're just, I think, amazing what they're doing, and how many people are showing up. It just shows you that there is a need, and we knew that the numbers would probably go up because of the fact that people are getting laid off, and you don't know who gets hit in this. So she's still willing to take donations, and people are still willing to give, and that's really a nice thing, that people during hard times can come together that way. So and she's still working very closely with the food pantry.
Yep.
pantry to the Boston Food Bank and drives in and helps them get what they need, because I was at the distribution of the food pantry last Wednesday, and I'll tell you, they are giving out a lot. There were a lot of bags out there, and they bring it right outside, and they have a lot more volunteers, but they're giving out more than they've ever given out. Just and that's over and above. That's families that are over and above the kids that are getting the grab and goes. So that's a lot of people in a small community. But so a shout out to both the cafeteria, Anne Marie and her program, and also the food pantry. They're doing really good things. And also the Reach group in town, and they're doing a lot of good work out there, also getting the message out about all these different services. So this, for a little community, a lot of nice outreach and things are going on.
Well said, Dr. Oakley. Yes, definitely a shout out to Anne-Marie Grinder and her staff. You know, they all work tremendously well together, and you know, the district is really the ones that are benefiting the kids. And I don't know how Anne-Marie Grinder does it, but kudos to her. She's amazing, and her staff. They all are.
They've been great. Okay. And last on my update is teacher appreciation. You know, Teacher Appreciation Week was last week. We appreciate teachers all weeks, but they get a week to be appreciated, that people tend to go out of their way and do things. And it's hard. In the past, kind of got them a gift and sent a letter and brought it to the principals, would have lunch for them, or the PTO would come in another day and have breakfast, but they weren't in school. So but we did want to show our appreciation. So people put their heads together, and I'm really, I think a lot of different ideas, but I think Mr. Bodwell came up with the one that and ran with, and that was have a, you know, stand out on Howard and 106 and hold signs and get people to beep and wave, and then have the teachers come in, drive through and drive by, and a token of appreciation. They each one got a rose and a Hilliard's candy bar as they went by. And I think a lot of them, it was just like they wanted to just get out of the house and drive through. So even though it seemed simple, I think they appreciated that for 2 hours we were all out there going, woo, getting everyone to beep and wave. And we had close to 100 of the teachers in the district, not just teachers, but staff, drive through, say hi, and give a shout out. So, and the signs are still up there, and I do think they appreciate it and realize that we appreciate them. And I can tell you, and we know this because all you have to do is go on Twitter for 5 minutes now. Parents really, 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 really appreciate teachers now. And most parents are definitely saying, I guess the teacher wasn't the problem. And they're really figuring that out. So so we really appreciate our teachers, and we wanted to do something special. And I think it worked out really well.
Congratulations on your successful day.
What?
Congratulations on a successful day. My wife and I thought it was tremendous for all you guys to do that.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was very, very, I loved watching looking at all the pictures, and it's just the time that you put into it, again, your own time, just to show how much you appreciated others. So thank you. You make us look good. Well, thank you.
All right. That's all my updates. On to your business.
Okay, on to business. We have the assistant principal search update. Mrs. Page.
Yes, so we have a committee of 7 people. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Macmillan, Miss Ponce, Miss Hamill, Mrs. Daly, Mr. Hyde, and Mrs. Mishley and myself. It's been strange doing interviews via Google Meets, but we made the best of it. We ended up interviewing 10 candidates, which is a lot, but we wanted to make sure that we got the right person, and there were, quite a few applicants. So we want to make sure that we, saw everybody that we wanted to. We narrowed it down this past week to our top 4 candidates, and we're passing forward to Mr. Bodwell. It was a unanimous vote for our selected person that we're going to pass off to Mark to meet and go through and give approval for. So it was nice that we were all unanimous. We loved him the first time, and the second time even kind of reinforced that. He cares about kids. He's a team player. All his references were great, very positive. So it should be a nice transition. I'm hoping, we can have the same type of rapport that Mr. Bodwell and myself had. It's, good working relationship. So that will be heading over to Mr. Bodwell's hands sometime this week, I believe.
That's fantastic. I'm a firm believer that the process works, whether it's remote or in person.
It was nice that it was unanimous, so there was no arguing.
Yep.
So, Mark, you haven't met the candidate yet?
I have not. I've seen him on paper, but I'm looking forward to meeting him.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Me too.
And definitely we'll do that this week.
Yeah, I'm going to bring the packet over tomorrow, actually, in Spring Street, because I know Patty will be there. So I'll leave it. Kim, I'll leave it on your desk.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Moving on, business. We have the special education or the student services director search update. Mr. Bodwell.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I'd definitely like to start by thanking Mr. Mike Lazick for all he's done for the district. He's definitely put students, staff, and families first, and he's left us in a better place. All his hard work and dedication years in West Bridgewater.
Yes. Standing out.
Due to the timing, though, of the year, we're a little bit late in the year, but also the timing with the pandemic, I just felt that it wasn't the best time. There's not a lot of people out there that are looking, I think, to change positions or maybe take that career move at this point. So we wanted to look internally for a strong candidate, and we believe we have one in district. I've known Kathy Marble for nearly 20 years. She has experience working with students at both the elementary and at the secondary level. She's coordinated our summer program in town for, I believe, the last. She's an outstanding special ed teacher, respected by not only the special ed staff, but also the regular ed staff and the administrators. And she's a model teacher. We often we'll send people to her if they need some information. She's completed her internship hours, and she's been part of our coordinator meetings this past year, jumping right in and wanting to be involved and been a valuable member of that group. She's a great listener, and she's a hard worker, and she's able to have difficult conversations, whether they're difficult conversations with students or with colleagues. She's able to do that effectively. And she's shown leadership in the school. Many times I've asked her to do something. She's part of our social emotional learning committee. She's jumped right on things and taken the initiative. She's the type of person that comes with a problem, but she also has a solution in mind, which we really appreciate. And we just feel she'd be a great candidate. And we're looking to promote her from within. We're confident in her ability and her work ethic. And we think that she would do an outstanding job. We look at it, due to the lateness, it'd be a position that we'd look at after a year, see how things are going on both her perspective and our perspective, forward accordingly.
That's fantastic. Kathy, would I be able to ask you a question?
Sure.
Excellent.
And thank you, Mark. Sorry. Thank you, Mark.
So again, everybody, comes into a position with their own personality. So I'm sure that you're going to have different strengths and weaknesses other than, than Corey did. And Corey, thank you for all of your service. You really enhanced that position for all of the students and families. So thank you. But so Kathy, with respect to your position, how would you describe your leadership style?
I think I'm collaborative. I definitely like teamwork. Like Mark said, I'm a good listener. I like to find out all the pieces of the problem before I think of solving it. I'm not one to bulldozer by any means. I'm not going to make rash decisions. Any decision I make would be well thought out. Any mistakes I make would be well thought out and probably overthought.
And just the fact that you've been in the district for so long, that's definitely a strength, so that you're familiar with the families and the kids, and you do have that background. So that's a real plus. We're really going to benefit on that. So thank you for being interested in taking this position and trying it out.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I had a question, if you don't mind. I just wanted to ask you, Kathy, if you could tell us a little bit more about the internship that you've been doing.
Well, I've been working with Corey. I go to the American International College, and it includes a 400-hour practicum. Okay. That started in January. So Corey's been very good at letting me join him on anything and everything I could possibly break away and go do. Of course, once March 13th came, I haven't been able to jump in as often in person. Every Friday, though, I'm able to join a conference with the Department of Ed, and I've been going streams.
Kathy, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
You just faded out a little bit. Could you just repeat that last every Friday conference call piece?
Oh, every Friday, Corey and I are able to join a conference call with the Department of Ed.
Great.
In addition to what we started in January. So I've been able to join him on things.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Now we can. Yes, yes. Thank you.
I was wondering why you were all staring at me and not saying anything.
We all thought it was just us. I didn't realize it was everybody.
Kathy, you'll get used to that. They do it a lot.
Does anyone have any other questions for Kathy? Okay. So now, is this a voting? Yeah. That's what I thought. All right. May I have a motion?
I move that we have Kathy Marvel take the position as described for the West Bridgewater Middle Senior High School on said date, and I personally wish her the best of luck.
It's for the district, right? Not just the high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
the district.
That's okay.
Could I have a second?
I'll second that.
Excellent. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
Hey, Sue.
Thanks,
Yes.
Kathy.
So I'd just like to real quick thank Corey for his leadership over the past 3 years or so, and good luck to him. The district's in a better place, for the past 3 years. So I just wanted to say thank you to Corey, but also to Mr. Bodwell for hitting it out of the park here for his really first appointment moving forward. Nice job, Mr. Bodwell, and keep it rolling.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just echo that too. Thank you from me too, Corey. And Kathy, I think it's a perfect fit for you to step into Corey's shoes. So I look forward to that too.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for the committee members for voting for me 3 years ago, and to Dr. Oakley, who took a shot on a young guy trying to become a director in a public school district. And it really is a special place. It was a really, really tough decision to make when I had to make it. I will say the best part of my job is absolutely Spring Street principal. But I really will miss each and every person in that special ed department. I mean, we have some really, really great staff that do a lot for kids. So I'm hoping that work can continue and support our students, and not only our students, but the big thing is supporting families as well.
Thank you, Corey.
And we hope to see Corey on Friday nights for football games.
Only the away games. Only the away games.
Okay, all right.
He can come to all the games, but now he's got to pay.
I can still wear my jacket.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And again, welcome aboard, Kathy.
Thank you.
And now for the senior class update, Mr. Bodwell.
All right, thank you again. We've had a lot going on. I mean, I think since March 13th, this has always been something, it's been our priority to make sure we take care of our seniors. We obviously, grades 7 to 12, want to make sure all kids are taken care of, but of course, our seniors are very special to us. So just wanted to update you on some of the things we have done and some of the things we're planning for the future. We have met with the senior class officers once, and we're meeting with them again on Thursday. They've been very involved, and I've been emailing back and forth with several of them throughout this time, just to get their input and their what they really desire. Dr. Oakley, Mrs. Page, and myself did the senior signs on April 29th, going to all the seniors' houses, and that was just an outstanding day for us. It was wonderful to see a lot of the kids and the families. We got some hours. We were really under the gun. But we did it in 8 hours and 9 towns later. But it really was special for us. And I think I hope it was special for them. For them, the car parade, that's scheduled for Friday, the 29th, which is a special day because that would have been graduation night. We haven't set a time yet, but we are working with Chief Flaherty to make sure all safety rules will be followed by the kids. And we're going to send out very detailed instructions as well as a route that they will follow that will encompass the schools that they've always gone to, going through them with no students there, which is a little bit safer anyhow, but they'll get to drive through the schools and also a part of town. So it should be a special event. We have our speeches all set. For some of them, we have our academic leader, our president. We have an honor SAS, which will be voted on by the staff, as well as a student speech. They would like to vote. Students will submit speeches, and the students will actually be voting on the 4th speech this year. The National Honor Society students are working on, and hopefully they're listening to this after the fact, because they've got to send in a video. Every year, one of the highlights of the National Honor Society induction is hearing where the seniors are going and more information about them. So Emma Radlinsky is helping to create this video that we will share out with the public, but they need to get those videos done. We obviously have, right now, had to cancel the senior ball. We're refunding the money, but we're refunding in hopes that we will reschedule. We'll look at dates later in the summer, and we'll even go as far out as maybe Thanksgiving next year to reschedule. I think one of the big things that they're missing is seeing one another. And also at the senior ball and the senior reception, they get to sign the yearbook. So that's another important thing. We are handing out cap and gowns coming up. We're going to do a date probably the first week in June, where they'll come in, they'll get their cap and gown, they'll get any honor tassels that they have earned, as well as their yearbooks. We're also going to work on creating a big sign that they'll all put their signature on, and we'll display that both time and into next year. We're recognizing our seniors on Facebook and Twitter, putting in 3 a day, promoting where they're continuing their education. So students are asked to fill out a Google form and send me a picture, and we're posting those out. We presented other ideas to them as well, things that they could be doing. They've jumped on a few, and they're working on a couple others. So we'll get more updates on that. We'll still continue to have scholarship and award night. It'll be remote, but we'll be putting together a program that we'll send out at a designated time. When kids win certain awards or scholarships, we're going to list their name and a picture of them. We're also going to have presenters come or send speeches, a recording of their speech to us, so we can put that into the video. And obviously the big thing is graduation. We met today, committee met, talking about what we want to do, what a hybrid graduation might look like. I think it's highly unlikely, unfortunately, that we'll be able to get outside and do a traditional graduation. We're looking to have some closure for our students, but also give them the best type of ceremony possible. We're meeting with the class officers on Thursday, so we're going to run those ideas by them. The graduation will be after the tradition, the May 29th, and we're thinking most likely we're hoping late June or something like that. That's a date we've had all along, but we'll talk to them. We'll talk about some of the special things we'd like to do with it and how we'd like to organize it and get their feedback.
That's fantastic. Just going back to your sign deliveries, just as a parent of a senior, I just want to thank you and Dr. Oakley and Mrs. Page for just creating such a memory that not only for the senior, but for the family too. So thank you. We are so proud of that sign on our front lawn. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a great idea. Yeah.
And I know we have a couple of parents of seniors here. So if you have any ideas, we've told the kids all along, we're kind of open for ideas. Some we can incorporate and some we can't. And we also want to be careful not to compare ourselves to other districts because I think we're unique and we have our own special things that we want to do. And I think it's natural to compare, but we want to make the best program we can for our kids.
Right.
Mark, I just had a question about the remote scholarship and awards night you mentioned. Are you thinking that that's just going to be a recording or something like a Google Meet or Zoom where they attend that way sort of live or?
Right now, I believe we're going to we'll record it and then send it out.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the structure of how we'll set it up. If we can find a way that it can be pretty seamless and not too long, because what we want to do is, put pictures up and names of students and so forth. And also we won't have the teachers there or the presenters. So we'd have to record those before. So it may be a little difficult to get that all working. So it's, it's usually an hour and a half ceremony. It could take a lot longer if did it on a live feed.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll work with the tech people to see what's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And just another last piece that I've been hearing from other senior parents is probably one of the most memorable pieces of this whole senior, transition to graduation is the National Honor Society night. So I'm thrilled to hear, and I know a lot of senior parents will be happy to hear that you're still focusing on that. Not sure what it looks like yet, but the substance of it is important because, everyone's so supportive of all the kids. So it's so nice to kind of hear what their plans are. So that's good.
And a shout out to Emma for working on this, but also a shout out to our parents to kind of poke their seniors who might be on NHS to get those videos sent to her. Because in her last email today, she said she's only had a handful. So she's missing probably about 3/4 of them.
Okay, good to know.
And I'll send an email out too to help promote.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving on to the Inclusion Matters update, Mrs. Smith.
Yes, so due to the closing, all Inclusion Matters events for the remainder of the year have been canceled. However, they have not canceled inclusion, and the board has been working hard at supporting parents and families during the pandemic and planning for future virtual and in-person events. Our president, Melissa Winchell, has been doing a fabulous job of every Wednesday since the closing of school, conducting Inclusion Matters, a coffee talk for parents via Zoom, and talking with parents about topics such as establishing routines at home, supporting reading, building family resiliency, supporting mental health, and creating inclusive friendships for our kids, even while physically distancing. So this week's call will feature West Bridgewater's own occupational therapist, Jenna Duckworth, for a conversation we're calling Small Children, Big Emotions. So Mrs. Duckworth will guide our families and strategies for supporting our children during their emotional meltdowns and tantrums. And these coffee talks happen on Wednesday mornings from 8 to 9, and you can visit the Inclusion Matters Facebook page for the link to the Zoom, and also you can email Inclusion Matters at wbsepac@wbridgewater.com. So we're also working on planning some virtual events to connect and support families this summer, and planning workshops with guest speakers for next year. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Very, very helpful information, Molly. Thank you. And under warrants, the following warrants were issued and paid for fiscal year 2020. There were 2 bill warrants, numbers 42 and 44. First is dated April 23rd of 2020 in the amount of $591.41. And the second one is dated May 7th of 2020, and that's in the amount of $47,744.87. And there were 2 payroll warrants, numbers 26 and 27. And the first is dated May 1st of 2020 in the amount of $462,600.11. And the second is dated May 15th of 2020 in the amount of $559,155. As always, all warrants are public record, and once signed, they are available in the Selectman's office for review. And under public forum, members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members are reminded that personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during this public forum. Do we have any listeners who would like to join in on the public forum? All right.
Yes, I would. I would, please. This is Melissa Winchell.
Hello, Ms. Winchell.
Hi. Hi. I just wanted to express, first of all, my thanks to everyone, the school committee, Dr. Oakley, Mr. Michalajek, the administration at the schools, and the teachers. I know remote learning has been really, really hard on everybody, us parents included. And West Bridgewater has been just amazing in what you all are doing. I mean, as I look around at other districts statewide, you all are doing an awesome job. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all your support and care. And I want to welcome Kathy Marble as well. I do just have 2 questions for the committee, if I could, this evening. One is I'd like to hear a little bit more about why the position for what you've listed on the agenda as the SPED director, the student support position, wasn't posted. I heard the comments about, it being an awkward time, and I couldn't agree more. But, searches are run even for interim positions so that we can, have a wide variety of candidates. And again, no reflection at all about the vote that has been taken tonight or Mrs. Marble. I do not have, any skin in the game in terms of, Mrs. Marble or not. I'm just speaking in general about the position. I think a lot of parents in the district were really looking forward to seeing a search process unfold, even though I know this is a very unusual time. The follow-up question to that, which is not my second question, but the follow-up question is, given that this will be an interim position, does the committee expect that the position will be posted in a year's time, in the hopes, of course, that Mrs. Marble would apply and that perhaps we could look at some other candidates? And then my second question is, I heard Dr. Oakley's comments about the budget and the town, and I heard her say that the town is not willing to provide us with any more personnel. Does that include then as well the mental health position that had been discussed as part of the school committee's draft budget? Is it true then that the town is not willing to give us that new position for a mental health, social work? I know that hadn't quite clearly defined yet at the middle senior high school. I just wanted to hear a comment on that, because as a parent, I'm really concerned as we're thinking about transitioning back at some point, right? Hopefully sooner rather than later. I think our kids are going to need even more mental health support than they've ever needed before. Would like to hear if anybody has any insight into why the town would not be on board with supporting our kids' mental health at this time.
Well, if I could just start with your second question first. Yes, that does include the town would not fund for the mental health counselor. It was very clear that they will not fund any new hires. And we as a committee and as parents as well, Melissa, we were very disappointed in that as well. Because as you may recall from our first presentation to the selectmen and then to the finance committee, we strongly believe in the need for this mental health counselor. So unfortunately, it is not going to be funded by the town. So Dr. Oakley may have some more specific information on that.
I don't have
we share in your disappointment.
I don't have specifics of specific even who you can and cannot hire. I mean, the bottom line is the town, they did say they do not want to fund any positions in town. Now, that said, the school committee controls the school budget, so they can say that. The school committee can spend their money any way they want to spend their money, you know, that within reason, obviously, that's it. So what, again, it's hard because they didn't say you don't have this money. What they're saying is we don't want to fund any new positions. And them saying that to us, my gut feeling is, I could be wrong, but we'll see, that whatever we put in for the price of that new position, for the cost of that new position, they may not fund us that money. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't cut something else to get that position if you weigh it and say, you know what, because I agree with you 100%. You thought we needed it before. Now you've got kids coming back with totally different baggage and coming back with all different issues. And honestly, let's face it, you're probably going to have some kids that maybe are fearful to come back to school, or their parents are saying, you're not going back to school until there's a vaccination and something, you know, so it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different. And so, yeah, we need those supports even more. So that said, I mean, they may be saying, yes, no new positions. So that means that you put in $80,000 for this, we're cutting you $80,000. I don't know if that's how they'll do it. But if that's the case, I know that's how they did it when we were going for a school resource officer. So then the school committee needs to make a decision and look at it and say, well, what can we do to manipulate our budget of what they did give us, even though that was the extra money we put in for it. So there are, you know, so they can't say you can't hire a mental health professional, but they can say we're not giving you the money for these extra positions. You see the difference?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then
I can start to address the first question if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow.
I mean, I think, you know, going back to what I had said earlier, I think the timing is tough. I mean, we're fairly late in the school year, and I do know there's, you know, approximately 6 weeks left school year. But one of the key things that we feel going forward in this very difficult time is the transitional time and the time that we can have the candidate where you talk about all the things that are going on within the district. And that is, you know, priceless in terms of knowing that we have that communication that was really in this a continuation of those internship hours. We also are putting forward a candidate who knows the district. So anyone who came in from the outside expertise in terms of knowing the district, knowing the kids, the families to some degree, the teachers and the staff. So I think that's also a very key component. People, the staff, and the community. And we feel and Kathy's an excellent candidate who will fill that role and learn things, but she's also, like we said before, not afraid to reach out and ask questions to be successful. In terms of posting it moving forward, as you know, at the conclusion of next year, I think that's something we'll talk about. I don't think right now we're going to make a decision on that. I'd be honest with you. I think we want to look at and see how things are going. This is going to be, you know, we're going to work together this year.
Okay. As a follow-up to that, just as a comment, it's not a question. My concern is that I would say district-wide, the high school has fewer models of inclusive schooling than the younger grades do in the district. I think some of the newer programs that have instituted in the last few years have started in the younger grades and are kind of expanding. And I think in the next year or two, we're looking to expand into the middle senior high school. So I think part of the concern, I think a lot of families will have, and I just want to express them publicly, is that we want to make sure that there is an inclusive mindset that is being, used when we think about children in this district and their disabilities and their needs. At the high school, because we have a history in the school district of sending students with severe special needs and significant disabilities out of district, and here I'm speaking about the history prior to Mr. Michaelazik's tenure with us, because that's happened, the high school has had far fewer cases of students with significant disabilities than the younger grades now do, because we are now keeping them in district and including them. So I do think we've missed a valuable opportunity to do a search and just at a wide range of experiences of candidates, and especially experiences with inclusion, because my sense as a parent, again, speaking as a parent, is that the middle school, high school is not yet the model for that. That I know it will be in the future, but it's not yet there.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that.
I'd love to respond. I do think that we have made progress. I think Mr. Michaelazik has done a nice job. We have brought students back into the district at the middle, senior, high school. I think that's an important step forward, and I think we're looking to not only continue the good things that are going on at the elementary level, but continue to move them up into the middle, senior, high school as well. So I think that the good work the groundwork that's been laid, continue that in the future.
And I'd like to just add one thing, just because, I'm older than dirt and been around here for so long, that Mrs. Marble, actually, when I was curriculum person, was in our integrated preschool and had integrated preschool classes for several years. Also, a lot of elementary experience, and came with, from other places that had inclusionary experiences at younger grades, and had, I know at least 2 students that were very inclusive environment that she had when she was in our integrated preschool program, and I think she learned a lot from those things. So she actually, it wasn't said, but she actually has pre-K through 12 experience, not just high school experience.
This is true. I actually thought I was going to be a second grade teacher, and Dr. Oakley asked. I was sitting at a teach conference with Janet Kane, if anyone of you remember, and I ended up being asked to go interview at the high school for a specific student, and it was on October 31st because Mark Bodwell was in costume with Lou Clayman, and it scared the heck out of me. I can remember that day, and I really didn't want to go to the high school, to be honest with you, because I liked the younger grades. I didn't even think I was going to be there as long as I was. My friend informed me I had to do what the superintendent told me to do. So I went to the high school thinking I was going to finish up in May and go back to second grade when there was a retirement. Ada Broming was retiring, and I didn't leave. And I also have had the pleasure of observing the learning centers that you talk about, Melissa, with Corey. They're a wonderful addition to our system. I hope I can live up to the expectations.
And the other piece too, Melissa, that I think is important is that with everything and the way you've developed Inclusion Matters, is that you would be also super helpful to Kathy as she's trying to do this and develop programs, that you'll be able to kind of participate and kind of give her your input on all of your resources, so that it's more of a collaboration, so that you can kind of add in various aspects and so forth, and kind of what you see developing through Inclusion Matters, that can be, kind of partnered with Kathy.
Yes, thank you. Of course. And again, I in no way meant to turn this into a referendum on Kathy or her expertise and experience. Again, welcome to you, Kathy. I'm really looking forward to working with you. I've been lucky to have a very collaborative with the district this far, and I'll be glad to be working with you as well. I just wanted to comment that I am disappointed that there is not a this time.
Okay, good.
Okay. Any more for the public forum? Any more takers?
I just like to say I honestly think that Mrs. Marble here is going to be a fantastic addition. I personally think if there was a search right now, I think Mrs. Marble would have risen to the top anyways. But I just want everyone to know on my thoughts is that this is 100% correct choice at this time.
Thank you.
I support that as well, Bill. So the next regular school, is that all for a public forum? I don't want to interrupt anybody. Okay. The next regular school committee meeting will be on Monday, June 8th. And it says here in the agenda at 6 p.m. Is that because it was going to be town meeting and all that?
Yeah,
at 6:30.
Town meeting, so it can probably be at 6:30 because the town meeting isn't until the 29th, and that's still tentative. So I think you should have a June meeting. Although honestly, if there's no bid, usually in June there isn't a lot. And if you would prefer to have it before the meeting, a little closer, depending on the budget. I mean, maybe we can kind of keep that date for now, but you could say, geez, we don't even, do you really have an update on it and move it later in June, or play that by ear?
Okay.
Because you don't even have, whoever the placement for Jim isn't even getting on till 27th. Okay. And then you usually don't have a July meeting. So, I don't know. You might, I don't know what you want to do. But
I would like, if I could say, I would like to keep the June 8th meeting and maybe at that time get an update from our newly formed academic I can't say it.
Continuity.
Thank you. From that committee.
Molly, I agree with you. I think that we should keep the meeting. I also think I'd like to see an update from Mr. Bodwell on where we're at with all the seniors. Hopefully we're in a position where we're going to have something for them sooner than not. Excuse me. So in my eyes, I think that the meeting, even if it's not on the 8th of June, the following Monday, is going to be just as important as a meeting on the night of the town meeting.
I agree as well. I think for anything, mostly it's for the update for the senior, because Mr. Bodwell is going to need to, well, at that point, I'm hoping have more specific dates and plans and all that. So he would need to get that message out as well. So Dawn, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say, so should we plan on 6:30 that night? And obviously it will be remote, not in the Learning Commons.
Right. 6:30 would be best, I think, for everybody. Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we also can have one more, maybe even two more, you never know, 2 more meetings with Dr. Oakley before she retires as well. So
and Jim.
And Jim.
Thanks, Bill.
And then would our plan be to meet the night of the town meeting prior to the meeting?
Well, it depends if you have to. It depends on you could leave it open, but you don't really have to because you don't, you'd already have the budget voted on, hopefully, if we have it by the beginning of June.
All right, so we'll leave it as June 8th at 6:30, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Excellent. All right. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Have a
Good night.
safe night, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.